Hi, partners. I hope everyone's doing well. This is Susanna Song, Director of Marketing and Communications for Overwatch. And I'm sure I've spoken with many of you, and we're so glad you're at this point partnered with us and ready to sell our platform as a service. A lot of you have asked, what is the best way to approach our customers with Overwatch? You know, some of you guys are just adding Overwatch to your stack. Others of you need some help when it comes to either bringing Overwatch to your customers or introducing Overwatch to net new customers. And we are here for you. We are partnering with you. We're coming alongside you to make sure you succeed. And I want to introduce you to Travis Ray. He is our Director of Channel Sales for Overwatch. He is a great guy with a lot of knowledge when it comes to cybersecurity sales. He just started with us over the last couple of weeks and is already making a great impact with our partners. Hi there, Travis.
Hi, thanks, Susanna. Doing good.
Awesome. You know, you've been talking with our partners like I have, and you know, I thought this might be a good time to, you know, in maybe 15, 20 minutes, help our partners understand maybe some tactics or give them maybe a perspective on how to enable their customers to kind of understand the importance of cybersecurity. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've worked with a lot of partners over the years who cybersecurity is something that's fairly new to them and to their customers, or it's been something that they've been trying to sell to their customers without a lot of success. And one of the typical challenges that I hear in that a lot of times is that they're approaching the sales process more from a technical kind of standpoint, right? Like trying to sell the features and benefits more than anything else. And the better approach is talking about cybersecurity as a business risk to their customers.
So Travis, you're basically saying customers should really take the approach of Overwatch solving a business problem, not so much a technology problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really the challenge that needs to be met, right? Is that cybercrime and cybersecurity is something that it affects everyone now. And that's the better way to position it to customers and use education to help them understand those risks and why that needs to be addressed. That makes the sale a lot easier.
And I know you have a PowerPoint ready, and our customers or our partners can use this, and you can, you know, either send this to your customers or you can just watch it and kind of see how Travis shares the business risk dilemma and maybe be able to memorize it or at least take some pointers from it and be able to present this to your customers. So do you want to go ahead and share that, Travis?
Sure. And we'll have this available on the partner portal. There's going to be notes inside of each slide with just some tips and tricks on how to talk about each of the slides and what to really focus on. So that, remember, there's that resource there for you as well. But what I've always recommended to partners and how, when I have sold cybersecurity directly to customers, the way that I talk about it is less about the features and benefits of the technology, and more about the need to address the risk of not managing your cybersecurity, which a lot of companies out there, you know, are not doing, and not doing very well, at least. So the first step there is really some quick education, just helping them understand that the overall risk is constantly evolving, that it's not going anywhere, and it's not a question of if they're ever going to be a victim of cybercrime and security incidents, but when will that happen, right? So I put together a timeline here of the evolution of cybercrime with some stats at the bottom to kind of hammer that home, right? Starting, in the early 2000s when hacker culture really began, and it was more of, the cliche kids in their basements or, IT people who wanted to show off what they could do, right? It was more about a reputation and fame as a hacker. And then it started becoming profitable in the early 2000s when the Russian carding forums and marketplaces started where they were offering stolen payment credit card details and leveraging cybercrime for identity theft. And that evolved into the beginning of really what was the real era of cybercrime, which was the data breaches. In 2011, there were thousands of data breaches because no one was prepared for it, right? And it was a great example of how cybercrime has continued to stay ahead in the evolution of cybersecurity versus how the defenders are able to adapt, right? The cyber criminals adapt faster. They're more agile. A lot of times they have a lot more investment as well. And then another slide here going into the more recent evolution of cybercrime, how social engineering became a new tool. And the purpose of this is to show how constantly the criminals are adapting and finding new methods to become more profitable, right? And one of the biggest developments in that was ransomware when it really exploded on the scene in 2017. What ransomware did was be able to take how the hackers were getting into networks and be able to pivot that into a way to become exponentially more profitable than just trading on the digital currency of data that they were stealing and breaching and using for the more common methods of identity theft, right? That year was a great year for the criminals, bad year for the good guys. A lot of the people who were hit by ransomware in 2017 never got their data back. We're just looking at the reported cases is staggering statistics, and that's not even counting all of the unreported security incidents of ransomware. And then after that, everyone got real focused on backup and recovery. So now ransomware became a little bit less effective because they were able to just restore backups and prevent that ransomware from really becoming disruptive. So hackers again, the bad guys again, evolved, right? And they started being able started lurking in the networks longer, so that when you went and restored that backup, those backups were corrupt and had the ransomware already involved there. So now they were able to not only corrupt your backups, but they'd also started pivoting into exfiltrating personal information out of the network before they ever launched the ransomware, so that if you didn't pay the ransom, they would release your data on the dark web, right? And then most recently, in 2019, attacks reached just an unparalleled level in 2019, even with all of the awareness around ransomware and cybercrime, because of the investment that organized crime was making into cybercrime. That was a major game changer at the time. A lot of it was less organized. It wasn't criminal enterprises who were putting the money into it. Now, in 2021, many different publications predict that cybercrime will be more profitable than the global drug trade of all major illegal drugs combined. And if you can start to get your clients thinking around that, right, of this is a risk that is not going away. It's going to continue to evolve. And it's something that if we're not addressing, we need to start doing, then positioning your service as a way to manage and mitigate that risk becomes a lot easier. They're not as worried about what is the technology, what it's going to do, and what it's going to cost, but instead they're thinking of the dollars saved. How much money will we save by making it less likely to be a victim of cybercrime, of all the different damages that can happen to your reputation, loss of productivity, disruption to your business, just the cost, right? Responding to a cybercrime attack costs much more than it costs to try to prevent that. And there is no, one magic bullet, one solution that's going to cure everything and be able to make sure that you're completely protected. But hackers are lazy. They want the low-hanging fruit. They're going to go after the easiest opportunities, unless you're dealing with like a hacktivist who has some sort of mission to try to ruin your reputation or steal data from you. Once you make it difficult enough, they're just going to move on because there's so many potential victims and opportunities out there that can be much easier. So that's when you start turning the conversation from the education part of why is cybercrime a risk to your business that you need to manage, to understanding it in their context, right? The different kinds of cybersecurity risk, like insider threats. It's not just cyber criminals that are your only risk. Start pointing out some of the different risks that these are all things that they need to be thinking about, right? Production, downtime, and disruption, email and phishing impersonation and payroll and wire fraud. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to customers who were the victim of payroll fraud. Hacker was able to get in, or wire fraud, and a hacker was able to get in their network. They lurked in their network and actually observed how emails were sent back and forth, what were the common amounts of dollars that didn't require any kind of a verification or check, and then would monitor social media and see that a CFO was posted on Facebook that he was going to the Bahamas, or had sent an email that they could see, that the hackers who were in the network could see, saying, hey, I'm leaving on vacation. Here's some things to do while I'm gone, blah, blah, blah. And then they wait until, the last minute when that person will probably be unreachable, send an email that looks exactly like the emails that CFO is always sending that say to wire these amounts to these accounts, and that he forgot to do it before he left. And that seems mind-boggling that it could be that easy, but it happens all the time, right? So now that you've got your customers thinking of this as cybersecurity as a risk and not just another expense in their IT cost center, makes it a lot easier to position this, right? Of, hey, so what do we do about this? How do we actually manage the risk? What do we do now? Let's start mitigating the risk by implementing, the MSP partners cybersecurity package, right? Whatever that is. And we made this so that you can actually present this and use this deck for your customers. And we've made it where you can see right there in the red, this is where you insert your branded cybersecurity package as the first step that they need to do if they're going to be responsible about the risk to their business. This is part of that, and what they need to do right away, what they need to do next, and what they need to do later, right? And that gives you a position as a trusted authority to help your customers with more than just their IT environment. Now you're helping making sure that they're managing business risk, and that they're not going to suffer attacks that could put them out of business entirely, or force them to lay off workforce, or have to sell assets just to stay open. And you can continue this process with them, right? You can help them start building incident response plans, creating better practices around testing backups, doing that from a risk perspective of worst case scenarios. And then later on down the road, when they have seriously upgraded their cybersecurity posture and hardened their attack surface, you can start doing pen tests with them to evaluate and identify gaps in their security posture as it is right now. And you've established yourself as someone who's more than just an IT consultant, but a real trusted advisor who is partnering with them to make their business better.
I did find it it's very interesting when you talk about the evolution of cybersecurity. One of the, I think, first slides, you on the bottom, it says something about small businesses are being targeted more so now than ever. And then you talked about the low-hanging fruit. So for our partners who have maybe small, medium businesses, who always just assumed that the enterprises were the large businesses were the ones getting targeted. That's not so much the case anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And unfortunately, the reality is that larger enterprises have the budget. They have teams of risk managers, right, who are talking to the CEO and are making risk management plans, and they recognize this. So, as I mentioned, the cyber criminals, the bad guys, the hackers are looking for the easiest targets. A lot of times that's SMB because they're not as prepared. This hasn't been a risk that they've been managing. They don't have the technology, and they definitely don't have the people. Technology is just one small piece of this, right? Without the people to leverage the technology and manage it and do the investigation, the triaging, the threat hunting, the response and remediation, the technology is basically just shelfware, right? And small, medium businesses just don't have the people and the resources to be able to effectively manage it. But that unfortunately makes them easier targets. These cyber criminals have real quotas that they have to obtain to make their money from organized criminal enterprises. So to them, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, or what you do, or how much this will damage you. They have a quota that they have to hit, and they need to bring in so much revenue from this, whether that's getting the ransom paid or selling the data that they exfiltrated or committing payroll fraud and having money just wired to an account that it can never be recovered. However they can get the money, they're going to get the money, and it doesn't matter who you are, you can be a victim.
Yeah, and I do think it's worthwhile to emphasize to your customers that partnering with them, partnering with their managed services provider really helps alleviate some of those business pain points, as you mentioned, Travis. The CapEx, the cost of building your own cybersecurity platform or SOC, and then the talent shortage, as we know. What are we like? There are millions of jobs unmet right now, cybersecurity jobs unmet, just because there aren't enough people with the knowledge. And then easily, as you said, like if you have the technology, that's great, but if it's just sitting on a shelf or in a box, that's really not going to help your company. So being able to partner with experts or a SOC that can manage your technology, your cybersecurity, is well worth the while. So focusing on the business problems is a great way to address the need for this.
Right. Absolutely. And a big part of that sales approach is the education part of it, right? You should be talking to your customers about this in every QBR, addressing their security posture currently, their security needs in the future, helping them build a roadmap to becoming more secure, because not only is it extremely likely that they will be attacked, they're significantly more likely to be attacked again in 3 months after an attack. I mean, you're on the list now of potential victims. You have to think of it from a criminal mindset. If it was easy to go in and rob this bank, and it was, made a lot of money doing it, and you go back and you case the joint again, and they still haven't put any new security measures in place, why would you not go and, rob that bank again? That's exactly how they think of it, right? Once you get on their radar, it's very difficult to get off their radar. You will be much more profitable and spend a lot less money never getting on their radar in the first place.
That's interesting. If you maybe fast forward to that last slide, call to action, I actually put that in just from a marketing perspective. It's so important to have a call to action. So if you're sending this PowerPoint or any marketing assets or even an email, you want to put at the very end, they're compelled now because you've made a great argument about why they need cybersecurity. Don't leave them hanging. Always provide a clear and easy CTA, even if you have a relationship with them. And then make it very specific. Call me, email me, fill out this form, click here for more information. Don't let them guess or try to look around where they can find more information or what they should do. It should be very, very clear and apparent what the next step is. So many times I've seen white papers, I've seen blogs, I've watched videos where it's really great, compelling content, and I don't know what to do next. Like, what do they want me to do from this point on? And so don't ever let your customers guess. Make it very clear. We're here for you, even like now that you've made a compelling argument of why they need to partner with a managed security service provider. We can come alongside you and provide a demo of our Overwatch XDR, Overwatch 24/7 service. So invite us into the conversation. We can do a webinar next. There are different ways that we can handle the next steps. So make sure you talk to your account manager. And we're here for you. As Travis said, it's maybe focusing on business risk is the way to go, and give it a try and let us know how it works out. Thank you, Travis. Thank you for your time. If they have questions, they can reach out to you, Travis.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to reach out if you just want to start putting together a sales strategy, a marketing strategy on this. That's what we're here to help our partners do beyond just offering our service, right? We're only as successful as our partners are. And just to add on to a couple of the things that you said about the call to action, when you're just emailing clients, you're just talking to a client, maybe about another subject, that's a great opportunity to throw in, a stat that's from this or something else that you found about the risk of cybersecurity that needs to be managed, and asking, how are you managing this risk right now? Ask those open-ended questions every opportunity you get. Security is a hot topic. It's sexy. It's something that people want to talk about. It's something they want to understand. They don't really quite grasp it entirely, but they know in the back of their minds it's a risk they need to manage. It's probably keeping them up to some extent at night. And just being able to offer that consultation and talk about it with them helps solidify you as that trusted advisor and trusted authority. So don't be afraid to begin the conversation, then lean on us to be the cybersecurity experts to help you close that sale. And when you do get that interest, when you get a chance to present this proposal or this presentation or something similar to it, don't be afraid to assume the sale. You've made a strong business case why this is a risk that they need to be managing, and you're presenting a solution. Why wouldn't they do this, right? So don't be afraid to assume the sale and ask, when are we going to roll this solution out and start managing this risk with you?
That is an outstanding point, Travis. Yep. Go in it like you've won it already.
Right.
It goes a long way that your customers trust you. So, thanks, Travis.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Susan.